Where's my daughter?
She's right there, on the Mariel Van Peebles stage.
By the time you get there...
Should have moved on to the next scene.
Today, I've got the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to tell you the only 3 episodes you need to watch from the final season of Atlanta. Yeah, I said it. It's a little disappointing. No worries, I got your cheat sheet.
So what's this podcast about?
Somebody gotta keep it real, you know.
Reclaiming my time by winning.
Keep my wife's name.
Catch me outside, how about that?
You're talking to
Unabashed hater.
my style is impetuous.
King Kong ain't got.
You come in with some nice waves of the black screen.
You're average looking at best.
I took offense to that.
Robert.
You ain't got the answer, Sway. I have you beat.
You now have the unmitigated gall.
Thank you for joining the Unmitigated Gall podcast, the pop culture enthusiasts go-to for the best TV shows and movies. Please subscribe to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Find us, look us up, but mainly I want you to subscribe to that YouTube page. We're going to be putting out more shorts, more content. So we used to only do Wednesdays. Now it's going to be twice a week. So more frequent content coming to you. Subscribe if you love movies and TV as much as I do. So today we're talking about Atlanta, an iconic television show that is about my hometown, my city. And, you know, it's a show that went from an Emmy-winning show to a show that has just ended its final season and puttered out with little fanfare. So what I want to do is tell you the only 3 episodes that you need to watch from this past season, which is season 4. There were 10 episodes. I watched them all, disappointed by most. So I'm going to tell you, if you're busy and you just want to get the episodes that anyone cares about or are worth watching at all, these are the 3. So I'm going to go through. Well, let me tell you the 3 that you need to watch. And I'm going to tell you that this was a trend starting back last season. There was a noticeable dip in quality. I'm going to tell you why. But first, let's talk about season 4, the final season of Atlanta. It just ended a couple weeks ago. These are the episodes that are worth a damn. There's episode number 5, Work Ethic. It's about a Tyler Perry-like character named Mr. Chocolate who's just churning out content and, you know, almost just ad-libbing his way through episodes. And it's about Lottie, Ern, and Van's daughter who kind of just got caught up in being casted in one of the shows and was swept up in the Tyler Perry like quick turnover of Mr. Chocolate's TV shows and movies. So Work Ethic, that's 1. The Goof that sat by the door. This is number 2. So this is basically about how a Goofy movie, Disney's A Goofy movie from the 90s, is the blackest movie of all time, which is a funny tagline. But it's kind of a parody of how it came to be. Basically, this black guy through a chain of events was named the head of Disney, and then sought out to make the blackest movie of all time, and did it by making a Goofy movie. And it kind of takes a behind the scenes look at like what this character meant, what this character was really saying, and the controversial scenes that got cut out of the movie. So that was a funny one. You just tell a lot of time and effort went into it. And then the third one, only 3 episodes you need to see in the final season of Atlanta. It was all a dream, the series finale. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, it was the finale and I was, you know, emotional and nostalgic about it. No, it was a good episode. You could tell that while they phoned in most of the season, Donald Glover came together. He wrote this episode and it was worth watching. It was, you know, it was poignant. It was it was like Inception. You didn't know who was sleeping. You didn't know if it's real. Is this a dream? And and it had a couple funny moments sprinkled in throughout, namely thick Judge Judy. So that's how one of the characters knew that he was sleeping or not. By if you see Judge Judy and she got ass and titties, it's a dream. So those 3 episodes, the only ones you need to see: Work Ethic, the Goof who sat by the door, and it was all a dream. The rest of them were kind of lazy and just not very dynamic at all. And what I've noticed starting from the previous season 3, is you'd be watching it and then the next week, it'd be boring. And then you see one that's like, oh my God, this is a lot better. What's going on? So I started looking at the credits. What you'll find is that the episodes of Atlanta that are good, great, Donald Glover actually wrote it. He was the lead writer or he directed it. So, and that was the case with the season finale. Donald Glover wrote that. I actually looked up, who wrote what episodes. And my hunch about the quality and who was behind it was, it seemed to be proven right. So, for example, first episode, The Most Atlanta. It was a lot of this was shot at like Greenbrier Mall, Atlantic Station. It was written by Stephen Glover, Donald's brother. It was just meh. The Homeliest Little Horse. Donald Glover did not direct or write this one, but he did act in it. And it was very meh. Born to Die, same. A guy named Jamal O'Lory wrote it. Light Skinned, the worst episode of this season. It was Stefani Robinson. So this episode was about basically Earn getting caught up in some, family drama, and a lot of it had to do with his light-skinned auntie, and her trying to take control of the fam. It was really ridiculous. The whole time you're just thinking to yourself, why am I watching this? Why do we care? Why is this even an episode? So I guess you could say it had to do with, Black family structures and the colorism within the Black community, but mostly it just felt stupid. I mean, it just felt plotting. And that's what I've noticed. Atlanta has, it's hung its hat on being unpredictable and unusual. And, for season 1 and 2, where Donald Glover was very much a part of those episodes, it worked because the episodes, they stood on their own, but they were still, for the most part, quality and entertaining, and thought-provoking. Whereas a lot of these, the thought-provoking aspect is either like hitting you over the head, like, look, white fashion. Yes, we get it. Yes, the fashion industry is controlled by white people, by Europeans. Yes, I got it. Or, and this is also from season 3, the reparations episode, which was called The Big Payback. Yeah, they just hit you over the head. Like, what I love about Donald Glover's episodes, the ones that he wrote and or directed, it's subtle, but the pacing feels right. It's humor throughout. It's not, humor that is very obvious and they're trying to hit you over the head. It's just, some moments are just funny. So he does a great job of blending thought-provoking, critiques of society with just funny moments. And that was really the case this last season, before this season 3, which a lot of the episodes were trash and he didn't have a lot to do with those, you could tell. And then you look at the credits on the episodes that were good. There were 5 episodes worth watching last season. And there was 3 Slaps, which his brother, wrote that one. But the other ones, New Jazz, Donald Glover wrote that. Trini to the Bone, he directed that one. That one was my favorite because it almost felt like a thriller, almost like a kind of like a light horror movie that was also funny. And Rich Wigger, Poor Wigger, maybe his magnum opus, which is about the biracial kid and stars the late Kevin Samuels. He wrote and directed that. And then Terrar, which he didn't write that, but he directed it, and you almost needed him to kind of take such an outlandish story and make it funny and kind of ground it in the characters of who they were. So I don't know, but season 4, you only get three episodes. And so, like I said, The Homeless Little Horse was episode number 2. Born to Die, written by Jamal Olori. Light Skinned, Work Ethic, the one I mentioned that was worth watching. The Crank That Killer, also written by Stephen Glover, Donald's brother. Snipe Hunt, which I hated. It was just, Snipe Hunt was about, it was basically this episode buttoned up Van and Ern's relationship. So they decided to be a legitimate couple, not just co-parenting, but be together, move together, and eventually probably get married. But the episode just took so long. They were out camping, and it was just, and the Snipe Hunt was about some fictional character that actually turned out to be real. But so it had the basis of what could be a good episode, but the pacing on it was slow. The storytelling it seemed like they didn't care about your time, and it should have been a 15-minute episode that they dragged out to half an hour. So Snipe Hunt, not good. The Goof Who Sat by the Door, again, one of the 3 watchable episodes. Andrew Wyeth, Alfred's World. This was also a terrible episode. This was about Paperboy basically looking retired, buying a house out in the country, living by himself, and eventually almost dying because he's living by himself in the country and got injured. I'm not going to spoil it completely, but it involves tractors and wild boar. So it sounds like it could be good, but again, that's why the director is so important, because you start with a decent premise, and you can see how these people might have gotten together in the writer's room, like, we'll do this, and you can see how it got green lit, but then the execution of it falls short. You guys, something that sounds like an exciting idea, and it ends up being a boring product, which is why Donald Glover is so valuable to this franchise, and not even just as an actor, but just as the visionary, the director, the writer, because it's just obvious. The episodes that he wrote and or directed, so much better than the other ones. Some of the staff writers, you can see that maybe he enjoyed what they did previously. Like, he's got a couple of writers that worked on the series Fargo, Stefani Robinson, Francesca Sloan. But I'm sure they're fine. But without his direction, because you don't know who wrote and directed the episode before you watch it. So it's like they're little gifts. They're waiting to be unveiled. And because just of how novel the storytelling is, it's exciting to see what the finished product is going to be. But because this is a series that hangs its hat on being unusual and unpredictable, they can also get by with lazy writing, just plotting, storytelling. And again, it's hiding behind we're unusual. I think there was a quote from Stephen Glover not long ago that says, "We don't care what the audience thinks." Well, that might be fine now that you're working with the Emmy-winning, writer and director. But at some point, once your brother goes off to do his own things and you're working for other shows, you're going to need to care what the audience thinks, because that's who's going to get you paid. And specifically this last season, where I only saw one person on my social media mention any episode, and it was the one about the Goofy movie. Besides that, radio silence. And that ain't a good sign. And when I went back and looked at the what I find to be the most accurate critic score, which is usually on Rotten Tomatoes, the ones I kind of agree with the most, I feel like even the critics graded Atlanta on a curve, like on the smart guy thinking outside the box curve, because of the first couple seasons. I feel like they gave them a lot of credit, because these episodes this last season, they were still ranking them in like the 80%, and some even in the 90%, 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s. I just felt like that wasn't the case at all. I felt like at best most of the episodes were 6 out of 10s. So this final season as a whole, out of 10, let's say, at its best, Rich Wigger, Poor Wigger, Trinity to the Bone, those are like 10 out of 10 episodes. There was no 10 out of 10 episode in this final season. It Was All a Dream was like an 8 out of 10, the series finale. The Goof Who Sat by the Door had great moments, but it kind of fizzled out and just kind of plodded along at some points. So even that was like an 8 out of 10. And Work Ethic, which was my favorite one, the kind of the satire on Tyler Perry, that I would say is a 9 out of 10. But this season as a whole, when you think that there's only 3 out of 10 episodes that are worth watching, that's what you get. You get a 3 out of 10. I remember when Seinfeld ended, I'm dating myself, but I remember as a kid watching Seinfeld, and then that series finale, it was so big and it delivered. I mean, all the episodes leading up to it. That's why those people got paid, though. That's why they were making like millions per episode. But, all the episodes were good. You never knew what you were going to get with Seinfeld, and it was always good. And that series finale was great. You see Kramer walking down the street in like a pimp jacket. It was just, iconic stuff. And I just wanted so much better for this series, which turned Donald Glover into a household name. But I just want to, follow up on what I was saying. It was kind of like the trend of it going downhill. Like I said, season 3, 5 out of the 10 episodes were what I felt were watchable. And, all of those, the majority of which had Donald Glover's hands very much on it. The first episode of that season was 3 Slaps. It was kind of a fictional take on a real story about some black kids who were adopted by a white lesbian couple who eventually killed them and abused them, but no one believed it because they were white women. Censor Clause is coming to town. Terrible. This is the season that takes place predominantly in Europe. Censor Clause coming to town. Terrible. Janine Neighbors wrote that one. The Old Man in the Tree. A lot of people I know like that one. So I didn't personally like it, but I'm gonna give it its credit because it gave the people what they wanted. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Taukik Koleid, The Big Payback, the reparations episode, Francesca Sloan. Like I said, just super obvious stuff there. Cancer Attack, Jamal Lori, one of my least favorite episodes. White Fashion, Ibra Ake, again, one of the very obvious hitting you over the head with the point type episodes. Trini to the Bone, great episode. It was directed by Donald Glover. So Jordan Temple wrote it, was the lead writer, directed by Donald Glover. New Jazz, written by Donald Glover. This is another, I noticed he does a lot of trippy episodes where he kind of blurs the line between being awake and being asleep, fiction, reality. And then he did that with this episode, New Jazz. And then Rich Wigger, Poor Wigger, again, just funny, poignant. And it got in a cameo from, Atlanta's own Kevin Samuels and Terrar. Basically, he saved what I felt like could have been an episode that had gone way off the rails, but being that Donald Glover directed it, it made sense. It was funny. It had the emotional highs and lows that you wanted, and it put a nice button to season 3. So again, season 3 and 4, definitely, a notable decline from season 1 and 2. All of the main 4 actors just blew up after the first season. And, the Atlanta suffered. So, my conclusion is I feel cheated and lucky. And I feel cheated because Atlanta became a victim of the star's success. But I also feel lucky because, we got an iconic show out of this about a city that I love. There's nothing better than watching the episodes and saying, oh, that's Greenbrier Mall. I didn't even know it was still open. Or, oh, that's Atlantic Station. Or, oh, that's over in the West End area. Like seeing the places around your city that knowing that they're putting people to work around here. So that's great. So again, my overall feeling is that I'm grateful for this show. That is my review of the final season of Atlanta and the series as a whole. Keep watching. We got more unmitigated reviews coming your way. I'm going to be talking about Shaq's new documentary. So far, not impressing your boy. White Lotus, which is season 2 of White Lotus, is on. It is good. So we're going to be talking about that. And I'll even be talking about a few reality shows that caught my attention. So make sure you're subscribing, because if you're a big fan of TV and movies like I am, You want to be able to discuss it. You want to know what's worth your time. Save the time and effort. Watch the unmitigated gall. I'm going to let you know if you should skip it or dig in. So again, thanks for watching. Subscribe, tell your friends. I'll see you next time.